Everybody, Welcomecast designed to help build business connections and create opportunities. I'm Lee Foster of Revitalize Connecting People, and with me are the amazing, dazzling co-hosts, Julie Taylor and Louisa Stewart of Blue Ninja Business Support. I'm sure that they keep putting extra sparkly names before their names every time we do these episodes online. But Julie, over to you.
Thank you, Lee. So today we'd like to welcome our very special guest, Derek Mair. Derek has lived and started multi-million pound manufacturing operations across 3 continents, amassing 20 years corporate experience in senior global positions, including commercial oversight. As a professional business builder, he has spent the last 12 years building 3 of his own 7-figure turnover SME businesses in the construction sector and has helped thousands of others through the Business Academy program, which includes an influential module on how to implement compound networking. As a highly experienced executive consultant, non-exec director, investor, and leadership coach, he is driven to help people and teams exceed their current potential. Welcome, Derek. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
I'm still only 25.
I know, that's why I got a bit confused when I got to how many years.
I wish.
Can't be true.
Yeah, that's a very grandiose introduction. Thank you, Julie.
So just to start us off, can you share with us where did your networking journey start?
So I said I was going to shock everyone today, this evening, wherever you are in the world. So my networking journey started at birth. At birth. My networking journey started at birth.
Okay.
What we do as humans is build relationships. That's what we do. And that's what networking is.
Mm-hmm.
Building a series of meaningful relationships. So when I first realised that, it wasn't until I was in the corporate world when I first realised it's all about building relationships. And kind of how I went through my career was looking up or finding someone that I respected, that I looked up to, that I kind of recognised there's something in him or her that's not in me, it's missing in me, and just always tried to emulate what they did, learn from them and try to emulate. And one significant person in my early development as a leader was a fantastic networker. And I want to frame networking. Networking in most people's mindset is that we're going out, especially in the SME world, is that we're going out and meeting other SME business owners or your respective client base or target prospect base somewhere. It's not. You're networking with your family. You're networking with your friends. You're networking with your team, or you should be consistently networking with your team. You're networking with your suppliers, other people in your organization. So I learned from this guy that building relationships, and he networked globally. Everyone within this same corporate, was 36,000 people in this corporate. And Craig, who was my boss, this mentor of mine, networked like a fiend. He was amazing at it. And I learned that straight away. And that's what took me through my career, not only emulating other people, but networking. Building and maintaining a network within my company, not only within my space, but within my company. And that just extends to the SME world. That just extends to finding people that can help me and I can help them collaborate, because I truly believe collaboration is the way forward. So when I say it, but Julie, I am being very honest that that's when I started networking.
Excellent. And a business card in his hand when he was a baby. Definitely. Great to hear that as well, really, Derek. But I mean, we're talking about challenges. We've been talking about the mindset this week as well, and about the mindset of the tipping point.
Yes.
When was a point when you had a real challenge with networking, how you overcame that challenge, and how did it progress into a tipping point for literally seeing how powerful networking was for you, engaging, understanding.
So I'm going to move forward now, Lee, to the first time I left the corporate world in 2010, and I walked into my first ever SME networking group in Kilmarnock.
Can we just clarify what SME is, just for those who might not be clear?
Small to medium size enterprise. So any small to medium sized business, micro businesses up to 50 to 250 people within your business. So I walked into this room of 30 people, and I immediately got imposter syndrome. I had a fantastic corporate career at that point, fantastic corporate career. But I was now running my own SME for the first time. Well, I had not a clue what I was doing. I mean, it was like, what's the difference between running an SME and running a factory somewhere in the world? Well, there's not much difference, to be honest with you. But I walked to this networking group with 30 other SME business owners, and I felt like a fraud. And I was a coach. That was what I was doing. And how am I going to coach these people how to build a network, how to build, a business, when I've not actually built my own SME business yet? So that was something I had to overcome. And imposter syndrome is a very, it's a big challenge for a lot of people in the SME world, especially if you're a business owner. But my tipping point, Lee, when I first went into networking, it was all about trying to get clients. I was chasing money because I started a business and I needed to chase money. That's so I was not actively listening for a start. I was promoting my own agenda, number two. So when I started to practice active listening and completely suspend my own agenda, just suspend my own agenda altogether, I started asking really meaningful questions so I can understand the person I was talking to, so I can understand their hopes, their dreams, their desires, their challenges, and only then can I ask myself, okay, how can I help them? It didn't matter if I couldn't help them directly. But when I started taking an interest in not trying to promote my own agenda, that's when it started to really work for me. And active listening, passive listening is a thing. We all practice passive listening. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you should be listening twice as much as you actually speak in a networking event. So practice active listening is a real skill. And what generally happens especially when you're one-to-one, you're continually thinking about what am I going to say next to get my own agenda across. That's what I mean by suspending my own agenda. I was never trying to get my own thing across. I was just trying to take an interest in that person and understand them and really listening. And when you listen to something, use what they're saying to then continue that conversation. Paraphrase. So what I think I heard you say was, make sure you understand what they're actually saying. So those were the kind of 2 tipping points in my small to medium sized enterprise journey. Does that make sense?
It certainly does, Derek. Thank you for sharing that for us. Thank you very much.
So I've got a question. What is having a networking mindset to you, Derek? Like what is involved in thinking about how to network and the emotions and the strategy that you should have in order to have a successful networking life?
Mindset is a very open question, Lisa, for sure. And I love mindset. I've studied neuroscience in the brain for many, many years. So let's start with shocking everyone for a start. Again. So you ready for a statement? Are you ready for a statement?
Would you like a drum roll?
I would like a drum roll, please. Stop networking. Stop networking and start connecting. Stop networking and start connecting. The first thing you need to do is self-reflection. The first thing you need to do is understand what your purpose is, so that you can lead with, how can I help? The very first thing, self-reflection and understand your own purpose. What is it you're trying to achieve through going to this network group or going to this meeting or whatever it is. Set your intention for how you can help other people. And then make sure your activity follows that. So stop networking. Most people think networking again is simply going out and meeting potential clients or potential prospects or potential people that can help you. It's not. Your networking mindset has to be global. It has to be holistic. It has to encompass everything within your sphere of influence. It's your team, as I said, it's your suppliers. That's a networking mindset. So let me share some tips or some things that I do in networking around the mindset thing, if that makes sense. You need to tap into higher purpose. You need to understand your why you're going to network. And it's not to get work for you. It is not to get work for you. That will happen by default. If you build relationships, if you collaborate with people, if you can help people, then that will help. That will eventually come back. It's called reciprocity, which comes to number 2. Practice authenticity. People can tell you're not being authentic. So you need to set your mind to be an authentic person. Most people in business wear a mask, especially going to networking. Everyone puts this mask on, how they believe they should portray themselves to the world. Just be you. Just be yourself. Be authentic. Practice connectivity. Practice connecting with the person. And practice reciprocity. So how can I help this person regardless of my returns? Now, let me put a caveat into that. When I first started networking, my mindset was very much on, I'll help as many people as I can. And that's not changed. But what I found was there is networking vampires. They suck the life out of you without paying you or giving you any reciprocity. They are just after, some of your time. And probably a lot of the time it is genuine, you want someone to help, but you need to be aware of networking vampires who just want to suck your time and not give you any reciprocity in return. I fell into that trap very early on. And you can identify them because I'm not authentic usually.
We're all smiling, Derek, because we were talking about network vampires yesterday.
Oh, really?
Wondering when it would come up in the conversation. So it's day 2. We've got the vampires in there.
There you go. And this is one for those. There's a lot of people out there who are, let's say, fearful of networking. They are, and it's usually maybe people who have lower self-confidence than others. So they're fearful of networking. So you need to embrace uncertainty. Most people stay in the familiar because it's safe. When you're in a familiar place, it's safe. You have to start getting familiar with the unfamiliar. You have to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the more you do that, the more you can do that, the more successful you will become. But do it as your true authentic self, not wearing any kind of mask. And if people don't like you, who gives a? Don't care.
So
Cultivate optimism. Cultivate curiosity. Curiosity is a great thing to cultivate. Cultivate continual learning. Always continually learn and develop your mindset, or identify your areas of weakness or your areas of challenge, and start out there reading things, listen to TED Talks, go on to YouTube, find ways of changing your mindset, find ways of changing your belief. You need to upgrade who you identify as. If you're not identifying as someone who's a great networker, then guess what? You're not going to be a great networker. I'm going to change that word. If you're not identifying as a great connector, then you're never going to be able to connect. So you need to upgrade your identity to that of someone who is that person you would really like to be if you only believed you could be that person, because it's your true self.
Yeah. Very true. Thanks, Derek. I think we're going to get the background noise as well on one of the volumes, maybe yours, Derek, just to knock down the background noise on us talking in the background, maybe.
Okay.
But how important is it to understand? One of the questions we always talk about, understanding our target audience. understanding the people who we're networking with. And one thing you just mentioned in there as well about the vampire, etc. And it happens, but it was actually me and Julie and Louisa spoke about this yesterday, understanding the farmer versus the hunter, or the hunter versus the farmer. And that's one of the mindsets to have in place. But how important is, and I know how important it is to understand who you're networking with, but also identifying the audience that you're ready to build those relationships with and nurture and cultivate those relationships.
So the question just to be, how important is it to know who you're networking with? In other words, what you're asking me is, how important is it that you do some initial preparation to find out who's in that networking event?
Correct.
What you think you're asking me is, once you're there, who can you identify that may be beneficial to meet for the first time, build a relationship with, and they may practice reciprocity? Is that what you mean by that?
No, totally. It's understanding your audience you want to speak to. Yeah.
Before you even go there, you need to understand what your business does. You need to understand who your key target market is for your business. Sure, you can build collaborative relationships. Sure, I have had so many connections through Revitalize Lee onto people who can help me. Not direct work from Revitalize, although I have had that, but so many fantastic connections of people who know people. So you need to identify people who resonate with you. You need to identify people who share your values. I don't work with someone who does not share my values. I don't hire people who do not share my values. So you can very quickly identify people like that. But what I do is I understand exactly how I can help other businesses. I understand my why, my purpose, and I can easily relay that to people within a networking group. So you need to understand your target market. You need to understand who they are and how you can help them. And it's not about going out and finding them in a networking group. If they're there, fantastic. If they're there, then you need to be connecting with them. You need to identify those people. That is not at the expense of everyone else. But if you do that legwork and identify who your target market is in your business, who are they? Why would they buy from you? Why would they want your product or service? And how are you going to get that across to them? If you can identify that and you see those people, you meet those people in a networking group, then that's you got one leg up the ladder, if you like. When I network, I have got three things that I always do. I identify at least two people that I believe fit in my target market or can help me get to my target market. That's always what I do. And there's always a third. There's always a third person, and it's a person who I recognize as they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. I know that sounds kind of crazy, ladies and gents. But even in Lee's events, there's one lady, Lee, up in Dundee you were at. I remember you run one in Dundee, and it was in a hotel room, and I come up to it, and I was sitting next to this young lady who was in some kind of sales, and it was obvious. It was obvious that she did not enjoy her job. She was there. She was not enjoying it, not because she didn't enjoy. She didn't enjoy networking. She just didn't enjoy her job. So I spent probably 15 minutes with her and asked her a lot of questions. And 2 weeks later, she handed in a notice. And I thought, oh my God, you've done what? But 2 months later, she sent me a very lovely email just thanking me for setting the right direction. So just try and help people. Just try and connect with them and just try and help them. Find the people in your target market and help other people, and that'll come back to you.
Thanks, Derek.
That's a bit controversial, but I really like that, that you want to help someone, and, you never know where they could end up. But, there's nothing more miserable than being in a job you don't like and doesn't suit you. So that's amazing.
And a lot of business owners, when I'm talking to business owners, the biggest question I get asked when I'm networking one-to-one is, because people know what I do, and they say to me, Derek, how can I get my team to step up? I just can't get my team to step up and do what they do. Well, don't ask me that question. I'm not interested in you asking that question until you tell me what you're doing to become a better leader.
Yeah.
What are you doing to become a better leader? And then you can ask the question about how you get your team to step up. So sometimes that can be tough as well, Julian. People, that only comes from a place of love and caring. Nobody else.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
I was lucky I wasn't in your sites last week then. So I loved your point about active listening. And I'm sure you know the phrase, be interested instead of interesting.
Yeah, be interested in people, absolutely. And the best thing I can tell people about active listening is to paraphrase. You not understand what I mean by paraphrase?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in case anyone doesn't, whenever someone's speaking to you, you're simply asking them a question in return to make sure you understand what exactly they mean. So if you can start practice paraphrasing,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll start learning how to actively listen to someone.
Yeah. Could I ask, what do you think stops people from networking?
Fear.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, there's many different types of fear, but it all comes back to fear of the unknown. It all comes back to, am I strong enough, good enough, confident enough? Is my business good enough? Whatever it may be, but it's a fear of the unknown that generally stops people from networking. So as Lee always says, try and bring someone along for the first time that's maybe not been to a networking group. Help someone by doing that. Bring someone along to the next Revitalised Global Summit. Bring them along and to help them, introduce them to the world of networking itself. It's a great feeling just trying to help someone like that. But yeah, it's usually some kind of fear. Do you know what fear stands for, Julie?
No, but
FEAR. Fear stands for false expectations appearing real.
Mm.
We are the only people on the planet, we're the only living organism on the planet that can induce fear through thought alone. No other animal can do that. No other animal can induce fear through thought alone. A thought of a future that might not actually happen. False expectations appearing real. In our business academy, when we don't do time management because that's an outdated concept. We look at how you can manage your energy. We look at time intent, which is way different time management, and we look at experience intent. We look at setting expectations. So we're always setting expectations for what we want to experience. And I'm going to say the next segment of our life. Now that could be when I leave here and go and speak to my wife for the first time this afternoon. I was setting an expectation for what I expect. It could be me going into a meeting, and it could be me going into a network meeting. So whether you are aware of it or not, you are always setting expectations for what you expect to experience. The people who are setting those poor expectations that they're going to experience being embarrassed, they're going to experience not being able to stand up and give an elevator pitch or whatever it may be, we have to help overcome that. The fact that we know you're always setting expectations for your future, leverage that and take the time to cultivate. And I meditate before I go into every network meeting, only very, very quickly, but I turn over to my subconscious and I set what I expect to happen. I visualize what I expect to happen during that network. And it's always coming away from it, meeting someone who's going to be very influential for me. That's always what I visualize. I'm always visualizing, and I do it through meditation. So I calm my mind, clear my thinking brain, and then once I've done that exercise, I start to visualize what I want to expect during that networking event. Every time I go on to Revitalize, I do it for 10 minutes before I come on. Sometimes I fall asleep, come on 5 minutes late, and Lee asks, where the hell have you been, Derek? But I'm always setting those expectations. So if you are a person who hasn't been brave enough to get into networking, it's your mindset you need to work on. It's that fear you need to work on. It's only false expectations appearing real. That's all it is. And then there's motivation, ladies. And gentlemen. Sorry. and our leadership academy, not business academy, leadership academy, we teach exponential intelligence. So exponential intelligence is a mixture of emotional intelligence, motivational intelligence and adversity intelligence. Adversity intelligence is how quickly you bounce back from setbacks, to give you an idea. That motivation element, there's 5 levels of motivation. So I'm going to share with you 5 levels of motivation, because when you meet someone, you'll know what motivation level they're at. When I go into a company, the first thing I do is understand where the motivational level is within that company, and then try to increase the emotional intelligence of that entire company. But let me tell you, the first motivation level is money motivation. People are there to chase money. That was me when I first started. Not through deliberate intent, because I didn't know what else to do. But money motivation, you can tell people are just trying to sell you first time they meet you. The second level is egocentric motivation, and you can tell people are ego. They wear a mask and are not authentic. The third level is ethics motivation. That means you're value driven. You're driven by your values. It's a very, very good place to be. The fourth level is personal conviction. So personal conviction means you're doing this because you want to succeed, because you are driven to be, a caring person and help other people. It's personal conviction. Then the very, very top level of motivation is purpose-led motivation. Why are you doing what you're doing? How does it help you? How does it help everyone around you? And how does it help the greater world? So someone who has that purpose-driven motivation, they're going to have a level of conviction motivation, for sure. And they're going to have a level of ethics, a level of value. But they've suspended that ego, your what I call your ordinary conscious self, where the ego's in control. It's a selfish agenda. How can I get the better of his goal? You can transcend that into a higher level of consciousness, where what you're looking for is, how can I help? It's a completely selfless agenda. So I always tell people, when I meet people, I judge them by their motivation. I judge them by their behavioural profile. And I do behavioural profiling, so I'm an advantage. So I can understand if someone is a fairly dominant type of person, or a compliant type of person, or a influential type of person, or someone who just is very, very steady. And I will adapt to suit that person when I'm speaking one-to-one. So I always say to people, it doesn't matter if you're networking, or if you're in business, or if you're talking to your supply chain. It doesn't matter that. The only living thing in your business, in your networking world, is people. They're the only living thing. So you need to get to know people. You need to get to know, to understand people. And that starts with you. You need to get to understand yourself first of all, and then understand how you can adapt to get the best out of other people. And that's how networking really helps you get on and be successful. So I've blabbered on there. Does that
No. Excellent tips. Now, have you got anything you want to share with the audience today? Any sort of special offers, any promotions you're doing right now?
I am going to send you, and you can put on the feed a QR code, and that QR code will take to a Discover a Better Business seminar that I am running on the 22nd of July. So I'll give that to them. Come along. We'll talk about communication. We'll talk about the art of connecting. We'll give you some hacks how to upgrade your mindset, and we'll give you some hacks how to upgrade your leadership. That will transpose onto your networking journey.
Wonderful. Well, I think that wraps it up for today's session. So thank you so much, Derek, for joining us on Network Now.
Thank you.
What an insightful discussion, and I'm sure there'll be lots of takeaways for our listeners. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Stephen Thomas, a serial networker, as he chats with us on his networking journeys and lessons along the way.
Brilliant. And make sure you're following us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to the YouTube channels on Revitalize and Blue Ninja social media platforms. You can check out the podcast network now. That's on Anchor FM and Spotify for other great conversations. As always, just to wrap up, don't forget to check us out live at 5 tomorrow afternoon. Thanks again to Derek Mair, our guest for today, our interviewee. As always, a pleasure to be hosting these events with Louisa Stewart and Julie Taylor from Blue Ninja. Take care, everybody. See you all soon. Bye-bye for now.
Right.